Hi, I'm Dave Nabity of Nabity Business Advisors. Today we're going to talk about estate tax planning. If you run and own a company, it's successful, and you want that company to transition down to your children, we're going to talk about a big catastrophe that can happen is if you don't properly plan for the estate taxes that will be assessed on the business when it transfers from one generation to the other. Let's get started by talking about your company. Let's assume that you've got a manufacturing company and you want that company to stay in the family. You got kids working in there and you want to make sure the business transitions down to the next generation. So how do we know you got a manufacturing company? Well, let's just say, don't make fun of my artwork here, by the way. Let's say, okay, this is your manufacturing company. You can tell it's a manufacturing company because it's got a nice little smokestack there where the fumes come out, and you got all kinds of production going on. You got a nice front door, and then you've got your little office up here where you sit and you manage and run this place. And let's say the company is worth, just today, let's just say it's worth $20 million. Now, one of the great things about your company is that it's going to grow in value. You've got a great product, you got access to great markets. And within 10 years, it's a pretty good assessment that this business is going to be worth $40 million because of what you've got going in the way of growth opportunities. Now, it's really important, though, that you want this business to end up in the hands of your kids. And if your company grows to $40 million and you die, it's going to get subject to estate taxes. And estate taxes will take 40% on the federal level and another 1% on the state level of anything above the amount that the IRS allows you to pass to the next generation and get an exemption for. If you're single, it's $11,400,000. If you're married, it's $22,800,000. So let's just assume for a second that you are married and that you've got a $22,800,000 exemption on your estate. So that means that if you die and your wife dies, or if the wife runs the company, if you both pass away and transfer the business to your children, $17,200,000 is going to be subject to federal estate tax. And that's going to take almost $7 million to satisfy the IRS and have the IRS go away. How are you going to do that? Are you going to end up selling the business just to pay the $7 million estate tax? Are you going to go to the bank and borrow? If you borrow $7 million from a bank while you're trying to run a fast-growing company, what's that going to do to your cash flow as you pay principal and interest payments over maybe a 10-year period of time to cover the debt service on $7 million? It's a huge, huge problem. So I'm going to give you a couple of solutions and things that you can do to really keep this from getting out of control. You can move stock into the hands of your children right now when the company is worth $20 million and let the growth from the $20 million to the $40 million, a good piece of it end up in the hands of the kids. Again, the wife can give $11.4 million. The husband can give $11.4 million, a total of $22 million. You can do that, $22.8 million. You can do it right now. The other thing you can do is you can sell stock now in exchange for a note back. So let's say your fast-growing company is going to maybe not be worth $40 million. Maybe it goes from $20 million to $60 million. And the kids are going to end up having the business anyway. But if you sell the stock to the kids in exchange for a note back, then the growth rate on your personal financial statement is just the interest rate on the note. All the growth in the value of the stock will be in the kids' estate, instead of the parent's estate. So you keep this tax liability from being huge in the parent's estate. The other thing you can do, the third idea, is you can insure the tax. You can get life insurance on either the husband or the wife in enough amounts to make sure that the family has the liquidity to pay off the IRS, so no stock has to be sold and the business can be kept in the hands of the family. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a story that a friend of mine years ago told me about how you process mentally why it makes sense to get life insurance to pay estate taxes. It's called the cow and the milk story. So, okay, so what is that? It's a cow, right? How do you tell? Well, you got a nice little udder here that's producing some milk. What is that? It's a bucket, right? And what's in the bucket? Milk. Of course, it's milk. It's right under the cow, right? Now here's the tough one. This is the one that's going to be challenging. What is that? It's a rat hole. You know how you know it's a rat hole? There's a little rat poop around the corner of the hole. And what do we know about a rat hole? If anything goes into the rat hole, what happens to it? It never comes back. It's gone forever, right? That's what a rat hole is. Okay, so what is the worst rat hole you could possibly think of? Taxes, right? Rat hole, taxes. So here's what we know. The worst rat hole is taxes. And what we know is 9 months after the date of your death, this IRS auditor is going to show up to your family and he's going to demand a tax bill be paid to the tune of 40% of any of your estate that is exposed. Like we talked about, you get an exemption, but anything above the exemption is subject to a 40% tax. Now, what's going to happen is, if you don't properly plan for this, you're going to have to take the cow, you're going to have to sell the cow, and you're going to have to throw the cow, half the cow, 40% of the cow down the rat hole just to satisfy this guy right here. So what's the alternative? You take and you put a little spigot on the bucket, and you send a little bit of the milk into a trust, an insurance trust. Every year you take a little bit of the milk out of the bucket and you send it over to the insurance trust. And then that insurance trust sends money to a life insurance company, and then the life insurance company insures either you as the business owner or you and your spouse. If you do a joint policy, it's less expensive than if you just try to insure yourself. So what happens then, and I'm oversimplifying this, but what happens is, upon death, the insurance company then throws the money down the rat hole that the IRS wants. The family keeps the cow and all the milk that will come off the cow in future generations. If you don't do it this way, not only do you throw the cow down the rat hole and lose half the cow basically to pay the tax, but you lose all the milk that you could get off of that cow the rest of your life. If you do what we're talking about, the cow stays in the family, it continues to produce milk for subsequent generations, and all you've done is taken a little bit of the milk out of the bucket every year to pay for insurance, to pay off the IRS. So this guy goes away and your family keeps the cow and all the milk for future generations. So those are just a couple concepts. We have a really unique way of dealing with the insurance process. We don't represent any one insurance company. And when it comes time to look at insuring people, what we do is we get all the medical files in our offices, and then we give those to our underwriting teams. And then our underwriting teams looks at each individual and then bids the insurance out to multiple companies so that we get offers from the companies before we submit a formal application. It allows us to be very accurate on how we're going to insure people. We can know the costs up front. And one of the big problems, if you don't do it the way we do it, let's say that you go to a mainline insurance company and you just fill out an application and you submit it. If there's anything in your medical file that's bad, or if you get declined, that information is posted in the Medical Information Bureau, and it's available to all insurance companies, even insurance companies you haven't submitted an application to. So if you go to company A and they decline you, and you think, okay, I'm going to try company B or company C, company B and C will know that A declined you and they're going to decline you. So if you do it the way that we do it, we make sure we get all the bids without getting formal applications out there, so that if you do get declined by company A, company B and C does not know it. And we can turn around and get offers from B and C and only submit a formal application if we know we've got a commitment to insure you properly. So those are just a few ideas today for you to think about with regard to estate planning. If you'd like some help on this, please give me a call. We'd love to meet you and visit with you and learn about your family and your business and see if we can't help you solve some of these problems. I'm Dave Nabity at Nabity Business Advisors. Have a great day.